Why do you think socialist parties were more prominent during times when the voter base was far less educated? Because revolutionary action was a lot more possible back in the day when the most advanced weapon that existed was like a wooden ship with cannons on it, you know? That was like the ultimate weapon of war. In the early days of socialist organizing, you know, it was the very beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Yeah, unionization. People were getting sent to factories where, you know, we complain about the modern standing of living. And pardon me, I love complaining. Okay, that's like critical to leftist thought. But we should keep in mind that our lives are pretty good on average. Even those of you who are struggling with student loan debts and you're working a lot of hours, you ain't got shit on like a 8-year-old back in 1852. You know, like you're not climbing into a loom to untangle the machinery with your tiny hands. You know what I mean? I hope you're not. On average, the lives of people have gotten a lot better, and because they were so bad back then and people died so often, more people were willing to die for a revolution than nowadays. Americans are too comfortable to die for a revolution. And you know what? Revolutions are messy business. It's difficult enough to like, I don't know, the idea of like, seizing a government by force and then using it for your own purposes, that was difficult enough back then. Can you imagine how difficult it would be with a modern government today? That's why it doesn't happen, like, ever. You know? Can you imagine? Like, think of all of the ungodly complications involved in running a modern government, like the USA right now. Think of everything, all of the administrative state shenanigans, all of the like technocratic knowledge involved on every level. We're talking about like, how do you just seize that? You know, it's not like the old days where the government was literally a king in a castle and all you had to do was take control of the treasure and like kill the king, and then it's like, ooh, we're in charge now. You know, you can't. It doesn't work like that anymore, you know? So the times have shifted. It's unfortunate that a lot of leftists still think in like the language of early Marx, where they're like, yeah, man, any day now, the revolutionary potential of the proletariat will be realized. Go touch some grass, man. Come on. Go order a pizza. Go raw dog a social interaction, by which I mean make eye contact and don't look down at the ground, okay? Come on, wake up. Go out there in the real world. Go ask your average person if they would be willing to die for revolution. Come on. You know, it's people don't even want to die for revolution in the developing world, man. Even in the developing world these days, peaceful revolutions or like protest movements are a lot more common. Look at what's happening in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is undeniably the third world. And over there, what's the mode of the protests? Peaceful student protesters. You know, that's just not the way the world is anymore. The closest you're going, if you want to find a part of the world where people are unironically willing to like die for the revolutionary cause, you need to go to like sub-Saharan Africa. You need to go to parts of the world where they have nothing, like genuinely. You have to go to like, yeah, you have to go to like Burkina Faso, Congo, South Sudan. Yeah, you need to go to places where Eritrea. You need to go to places where they have genuinely nothing. Yeah, Myanmar. Yeah, right now in Myanmar. It's happening right now in Myanmar. 100%. Yeah. Wales. Yeah, Wales. The UK. Exactly. Where they have nothing at all. It's happening in all the places you just... Well, that's why I listed them. That was the clever little trick that I just pulled on you in a rhetorical sense, which is that when I listed things for examples, the examples were relevant to the thing we were talking about, you know? What about what you said then, that Palestinians should be willing to accept danger and injury at conservative rallies? What are you talking about? I said that you should, if you want to protest the genocide in Gaza, you should be willing to get together with your friends and go to a Trump rally and protest there too. Accept danger and injury? Like, I guess that protesting can be dangerous. What I was comparing against like violent revolution. What are you talking about? You're like 6 layers removed from the conversation. Sneaky debate tactics, yeah. Also, I didn't say Palestinian. Do you think the average pro-Palestinian protester in America is Palestinian? Yeah, true, sorry. It's okay, I forgive you. Thori, baby. The Russian Revolution, at least the February Revolution, was mostly peaceful protesting and striking too. Mass protests is how most revolutions in history came about. Well, generally speaking, you want peaceful protests because violent protests don't get the public in on them because they don't want to die. And basically, very rarely is there a violent revolution or a violent protest that does not have a component of peaceful protest. Even Hamas understands this. For every Hamas action of militancy, there have been hundreds of Palestinian protests. Now, admittedly, they didn't do very much because Israel is demonic. But, what are you going to do? Hey, we didn't say these succeed. We're just talking about the likelihood of them happening, not succeeding, okay? That's an entirely different... Would peaceful protest function without non-peaceful protest? Depends on the country. In America, yes. I know a lot of people like to discount this because they want to show up their parents who are still Clinton stans or whatever, but we do in fact live in a democracy. That is true. A lot of people, they love to discount this. If we don't live in a democracy, why is everyone so desperate for your vote, dude? Do you think Assad is spending billions of dollars convincing the Syrian population to vote for him? Come on, use your head. The reason they're so desperate for your vote is because in spite of everything, in spite of how tipped the scales are, we still live in a democracy. A highly flawed one, but the vote does count. So given that, it's worth, I suppose, reflecting on the importance of public perception, popularity, that sort of thing. Yeah, they wouldn't bother suppressing the vote as hard as they do. Do you think there'd be any possibility for a successful violent revolution in modern America? No. And that's not even like me being defeatist. We wouldn't even want it. You would break the damn country. And by break the damn country, I don't mean, oh, wow, you mean we destroy the American empire based? No, I mean like you wouldn't be able to get food. Like the food would run out. We don't get our food from like the local farm anymore. That's not how that works. I don't know about you guys. I think that an outcome that would lead to like 60 million dead from starvation would probably be like pretty bad. I don't know. I think a lot of lefties don't understand the concept of a power vacuum either. I don't think they understand like the absence of America in the world today would not eliminate the things that America does. It would just eliminate America doing them, I don't think they understand much at all. Yeah, well, I complain enough about the lefties. Honestly, would probably just end up enabling fascists to take over America anyway. Yeah, that is a situation that would not hamper fascists very much, Oh, you're telling me that the American government is collapsed and it's free game for whatever group of militia men and preppers have the most guns? I bet the left is going to come out on top. No. You want public opinion, okay? I can't wait for the government to collapse so my ideology can reign. Many such cases online. This is what happened in Iran, sadly. Well, unfortunately, a lot of leftists today, for some reason, think that we got the good outcome with the Iranian Revolution, Like, you had a bunch of Iranian leftists. After the Shah was ousted, you have a bunch of Iranian leftists who lose to the radical Islamists and then get executed by them. Or exiled. And they're like, yay. Would you rather vote for Assad or Trump? Just thinking of any question off the dome, huh? Just right off the... Where do you find these leftists who've never met the sort? You have to go on Twitter. They're on Facebook too. I refuse to believe that there are leftists using Facebook. You use Facebook? I really don't. By the way, in Myanmar, there might be a coup within the junta happening. Yeah, I've heard about this. That's what juntas do, man. Also, I know about it because you already posted it. I wasn't sure if you saw. I always see. Is it just me, or are there a lot of people who fantasize about violent revolution, as in the Day of the Rope, but under a leftist justification? The Day of the Rope is about a race war, not about like just violent revolution. That's pretty specific. I don't think there is any conceivable leftist justification for anything like that. But a lot of people fantasize about this because they don't believe in the future or in society anymore. They don't believe in the concept of democracy or of like, they don't think things can get better, Unfortunately, the people who think like this are usually the most useless motherfuckers when it comes to actually advocating, because as it turns out, you're not going to bring many people over to your cause by going door to door, as if these motherfuckers ever leave their house, going like, yeah, it's all fake and a lie, and we need to burn it all down. Wow, very effective organizing tactics right there, But that's what sells well online. Nobody shows up. This didn't work in the old world. Nobody shows up to an in-person rally with that attitude, which is why you see a bunch of tankies online, but then you take a look at their like in-person rallies where you have like, I don't know, Caleb Mop in there or whatever, and there's like 5 people and they were all paid to be there, No one shows up in real life to talk like that, but it's big dividends online. Again, never forget that my big swell of unpopularity in the online left was entirely, the big one, I mean, like the real shift in the discourse, was because I was not Bernie or bust. Because I was like, yeah, Bernie lost the primary. I still think Biden has to take it, you know. But because that rhetoric doesn't sell with the online lefties. It's just whoever can be the most doomer, whoever can be the most like snarky. Oh, wow, you support this outcome even though it won't be perfect. Like it's that all the time. It gets very tiring. It's not good for their mental health either, I have to say. You are the one who thinks revolution has to be inherently violent? No. That's why I'm using the term violent revolution, because I'm specifying that. Talking about a power vacuum, yet the people advocating for the abolition of the state through class organization don't believe in the future. Okay, all right. You get to be main character. That's fine. Maybe you wanted this. First of all, anybody who's talking about the abolition of the state is fundamentally unserious. What the f are you talking about? Would you abolish the sky or the ground under your feet? Because right now the nation state is about as entrenched and real as those. Are you kidding me? The world has never been so subsumed by the nation state. You're delusional. Like you're talking about like, okay, step one of political action. We have to get rid of everything. What are you talking about? This isn't how anarchists talking. No, this isn't an anarchist thing, you know. Well, maybe it is. I do believe that you don't believe in the future. I think that you've deliberately set the bar for political engagement so high that you will never be responsible for it because it's impossible. You know, you're like you're setting the bar for engagement at a point where you can never be held accountable for the outcome. Abolition of the state through class organization. Get off your couch. Start with step one. How about better union participation? What are you going to do to facilitate the class organization? Spread of class consciousness. Get more people involved with the unions? Okay, what's your step for that? Like, that's what we're talking about. Maybe believe in what you can do tomorrow. But nobody who actually does anything talks about abolition of the state through class organization. It's ridiculous. You know? It's meaningless platitudes. It's feel-good bullshit. It doesn't signify anything. No, you just said revolution is impossible? No, I said violent revolution is not going to happen in America. I said that specifically. You can go back and look if you want. I can't deal with you being mad at things I didn't say. Also, what do you mean by revolution? I don't even know what people mean when they say revolution anymore. Like, what are you talking about here? Fundamentally, you mean like we replace a president? The entirety of Congress? What are we talking about? A revolution used to be there was one guy in charge who you killed or exiled. That was a revolution. It was one person. What's a revolution now? How many people at the top do you have to replace? Do you mean getting rid of the entire government and constitution? That'd be a pretty big deal. How do you do that exactly? How do you like transplant a functioning democratic apparatus over top this one in a country with 350 million people without instantly breaking every supply line and condemning half the country to starvation? How are you getting insulin to, you know, Springfield? It's just a vibe thing. No one cares. Revolution is when Biden won the election. True. Remember, having the wokest end goal is meaningless. No one cares. You're boring. Having a concrete plan of action to get to the next step, that's the shit that I'm here for, you know? Yeah, otherwise you just sound like Tim Pool saying Civil War over and over and over again. A general strike is very possible with organization. You keep making bread, it stops business as usual. I mean, anything is possible in, I guess, the cosmic sense. What do you mean, like a... Okay, what is a general strike? Have you seen how people talk about general strikes on social media? Where they're like, all right, everyone, for Palestine, general strike on this day. That's not how a general strike works. Do you know how big a general strike... There have only been a few general strikes in all of human history. You know that, right? Like, genuinely. You could surmise a full list of them without that much effort. It wouldn't take you like a whole afternoon. That's for sure. A general strike means shutting down the whole economy. We're talking hundreds of millions of workers. Montgomery bus boycotts was such an example. No, that's not a general strike. That's a boycott. Every Labor Day is technically a general strike. Every Labor Day is a revolution, actually. Yeah, you can literally, this is a list of general strikes in history, and a lot of them aren't even real general strikes. They're just things that are kind of like general strikes. I mean, look at the stuff that's happened recently. 2020 United States Essential Workers General Strike. That was not a general strike. Strike for Black Lives nationwide. Mass walkout in support of the George Floyd protests. That was not a general strike. The 2020 Indian general strike. That was closer to a general strike, you know. 2021 Greek general strike. Greek people don't work anyway. So it doesn't really count. A lot of it was just attempted that actually happened on a national scale. A good question to ask yourself is, did this general strike lead to a crippling of the entire economy? And if no, it wasn't a general strike. The point of a general strike isn't just a walkout day. How is that a general strike? A walkout day? What concessions are you extracting from the ruling class on a walkout day? They know you're coming back tomorrow, motherfucker. You're not striking for shit. You're just walking out. That's not a strike. That's not what that means. A general strike means a collective, organized withholding of labor at every level of society until a set of demands are met. It requires like top-down organization. It can't be done sporadically. It can't be done just in sympathy with a movement. It has to be done at every level, and it has to be controlled, if not centrally, then at the very least by organizations that are in contact with one another. 2028 hasn't happened yet, Wheat Paste. A Labor Day strike led by the UAW would come close, like just on Labor Day. The UAW isn't enough. That's just one union. That's not a general strike. General strike means general strike. Yeah, the bar is pretty high. General strikes are a pretty big deal, as it turns out. General strikes cripple nations. Like a general strike, if done properly, it can literally bring any superpower to its knees in days. It's the most powerful thing you can do. Mass withholding of labor. Nothing works without it, you know? That ends everything. It would depend on how long it went and what conditions they were trying to extract soaked on left. Would 100 million Americans be enough for a general strike, or do we need more? You're already approaching it from the wrong angle. What's the right angle? It's not about the number of people. It's about withholding labor in sectors across the economy at every level. It's about actually bringing the country down. Not about briefly inconveniencing one business or a few or a governor. It's about it's the like a general strike, if conducted appropriately, should have roughly the same outcome on the economy as being hit with a salvo of thermonuclear weapons. And I'm saying that without exaggeration. A general strike should grind everything to a halt and instantly lead to mass panic. That's a general strike. That is the point. What was the biggest general strike in history, Vosh? This is VGG chat. You're thinking of Google. Skip the Vosh at the end. That'll just confuse the results. So how do we do it? Why do you ask me questions like that? I'm just telling you what a general strike is. A lot of lefties have no idea because they just hear these terms. It's like when you ask a lefty what mutual aid means and they instantly jump out of a window. You know, they're just platitudes. You know, you just have to know what these terms mean, man. That's it. A general strike is when you go on TikTok and tell 300,000 people to stop working forever. Yeah, exactly. What kind of ramifications in the future we might have as a country for our part in contributing to the genocide of Gaza? Oh, I'll help you with this one. None. We'll face no consequences. Next question. You think we're going to face consequences? You think this is the first genocide America has enabled? See, what you're doing right now, you're moralizing the thing. What you want to exist, Mistress Lynn, is God. You know? Your question is, how might we be punished? It's not a fair world, and there is no God. You know, that's not the only meaningful questions, you know, what can you do to stop it, et cetera, et cetera. But like, there's no moral, you know, there's no scales that tip and right themselves. I feel like a statewide strike in the U.S. could be effective. If you think the average American is willing to engage in a general strike for Palestinian people, then you are misguided. What if we did it for a decent wage? It ain't happened, has it? A lot of people simply don't understand what a monolithic entity is. People just don't understand how to organize. All right, I think we've complained enough, probably. Instead of complaining about how people don't understand leftism, why don't you actually help people? I'll complain a little more, thank you. This is the like inane whining of somebody who doesn't like the fact that they have no solutions, you know? Why don't you help people? I'm a live streamer. My job is to live stream. I'm currently helping you by providing my thoughts and feelings on a subject that's being discussed, which is literally what I do. That's my job. Why are you getting mad at me? Is it my fault that general strikes are hard or violent revolution is hard? Why is that? Me providing this factually correct information to you, this isn't an attack. I don't know why you're getting defensive. It's not even a matter of understanding leftism. It's just that a lot of you guys, frankly, you need to read a little bit less theory, and you need to listen to, I don't know, like Sean Fain or someone a little bit more. You need to go to a local city council meeting and just listen in on people, okay? Because your understanding of politics is so abstract and top level that it's meaningless, it's completely worthless when applied to the real world. You know what I mean? This is like the equivalent of a person who's only read Sun Tzu's Art of War, and now you're like getting involved at a low level bureaucracy position in like the administrative state or something. Okay, you're working as like a sub manager at a DMV, and you're like, all right, well, I've learned my enemy. So like the knowledge that you're gaining is inapplicable to the situation you find yourself in, but you feel like you have like the secret, the code. You know, don't do that thing that tech bros do where they read like what is it, like the art of the deal, or how to make friends and break things, or whatever the stupid self-help books for unfuckable men are titled. And then you're like, oh well, now that I have the secret to the world, you're doing the conspiracy theorist thing, you know? We're like, I now possess the secret knowledge. I now know that the state is bad and a general strike would fix things. Like, but it doesn't apply. You need to learn how to go and work in your local community. Nothing gets done without that. All of the good things that you can look back in history and reflect on positively. The activism of unions in the early 20th century. If you're a big Lenin fan, the revolution in Russia, and you look at any of that, none of it was done by people loftily looking down on society and going, that's right. If only the class consciousness would rise and people would take down the state. No, it was a bunch of like really complicated, incremental, difficult, compromise-laden decision-making that eventually, through a lot of suffering, procured good outcomes. You know, you got to engage with it at that level. All I want is for people to do that. That's all I want. I'm not trying to dissuade you from the idea that the world can be made better, but when you ask questions like, I don't know, do you think this protest for Palestine can help? What are you talking about? The genocide that's been going on effectively for like 80 years? You think that the one protest in this country, the country where basically every politician in this country is pro-Israel, you think that's going to change or fix things? It's an aggregate process that takes a lot of work, and you have to endure a lot of disappointment. But you can't handle disappointment because you're internet-brained and you're fragile. Your psyche is fragile. You can't handle it. You don't like the idea of being a tiny part in a broader movement. You want to have the secret knowledge. You want to be the one with the solution. Well, it doesn't work that way. You don't have it. I don't have it. Nobody has it. We all do our best. We contribute in the ways that we can, but you need to know the scale you're operating at, you know? You're an ant who's studying on like the dynamics of construction equipment and how it can be used to move the dirt in front of you. You're not operating that equipment, and you never will. What you need to do is use your pincers to grab a little bit of sand or dirt like that and pick it up and lift it, you know? And then move it away. That's what you got to do. As a live streamer with a large platform, I am still nowhere near the construction equipment, okay? I'm like a beetle, all right? I'm getting a little bit more dirt, you know, maybe like a little bit, like a little clump of it instead of a single grain. That's the best, you know, I'm nowhere near the shovel even. That's all I'm saying. Because what this leads to is you getting disillusioned. And because you think like, oh, I have this high level knowledge, surely because I possess this knowledge, we are on the cusp of greatness. And then you aren't, because that's not how the universe works. And then you get disillusioned and you turn into one of those guys who's like, yeah, the American people are too stupid and privileged to do any of the cool things that I like. Never mind the fact that people also don't possess class consciousness in the entire developed world. And there's also like a ton of reactionary thought and pro-business nonsense going on all over there, all across Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East, and you know, it's actually just because Westerners are stupid and dumb and they don't care and whatever. I'm just going to sit here and bitterly remark on the stupidity of other people. You're the dumb ones. Then you're being the stupid heads. The intelligence of the median voter is astronomically greater than the person whose only contribution to the discourse is to complain about the median voter. Okay. I say, knowing fully well what I talk about, but only 50% of what I have to say is complaining about the median voter. A lot of what I have to say is complaining about you. Leftism is a long game, and we never actually win. No one actually wins. There's no end state of any ideology. You just do your best. Vosh, if I'm reading theory, what should I read? What is the bare minimum? If you're thinking of theory in terms of the bare minimum, don't read any of it. The bare minimum is none, and the bare maximum is none. Don't read any of it. You're already primed to fail. It's not the ground game. What other ideology requires you to read century and a half old texts to get involved? And then for what? What knowledge do you possess then as a consequence of that? What good are you doing? Take the time that you could have spent reading that theory and go volunteer at a soup kitchen. There's nothing wrong with reading theory, but the bare minimum? Don't like that language. You still got to read the theory. You don't got to do anything. You can do whatever you want. It's not a club. It's not a club. It's not the Skull and Bones Club. We're not doing any Ivy League shit. It's okay. You can do whatever you want. If you want to read the theory, you can. You're not obligated to read it as a prerequisite of attending local city council meetings or your local tenants union or whatever else. My tenants union regularly f***s up landlords every week at city council meetings. Based. Oy, oy. Volunteering does nothing to overturn the system, though, so besides making you feel good for a couple hours, not really. Wow, Vagnar 5K, and here you are, talking in YouTube chat under a live streamer, something which I can't help but notice is not contributing to overturning the system. Come on, don't LARP at me. Don't you... That was YouTube chat, guys. Don't you... Come on. You think... You're self-important... high-horsing LARPy nonsense. You're no better than what you criticize. And I bet you think you're better because you're not wasting your time with these ineffective methods of making the world better, you know, like volunteering, things that actually do make things better for people. Come on. Looking down on people who are doing more than you, there's nothing lower. Leftists want instant gratification because they're all autism ADHD pill, but that's not how politics work. It's a problem with young people. You know, they want everything in no time at all. It's the iPad generation. What are you going to do?